we are late for time, so I apologize in advance. I will be telegraphing. I think that the conflict over Syria is central to this meeting, to our meeting, and also probably will be central in the meeting of the G20. You know, the G20 does not exist. The G20 is a mixture of two groups of countries, which are, in fact, in my opinion, conflicting already and will be more and more conflicting. On the one hand, the G7, that is the traditional old imperialist powers of the triad United States, Europe and Japan, which have moved into what I'm calling the collective imperialism of the triad, and which has been and continues to aim at remaining the dominant power at the global level. And on the other hand, more or less the BRICS, that is the so-called emerging markets or emerging nations, or some of them are the oldest nations in the history, and representing roughly the south or the periphery, because it includes Russia, which geographically is not exactly the south. Now, this is the G20. Now, this collective imperialism, this crisis is not just a normal crisis of capitalism. It is, as has been said, a systematic civilization crisis, and the people of we are all the victims, all the people of the world, north and south, east and west, are the victims of that system. Now, in response to that crisis, the dominant powers, which means monopoly capital, what I'm calling generalized monopoly capital of the collective imperialism of the triad, has no other alternative but moving towards the militarization of the globalization, aiming at establishing the military control of the planet by the United States and their subaltern allies, Europe, Japan, and some others. That is the strategy. It is not a conspiracy, it is a strategy. And I think that the aggression against Syria, which is to be considered, is part of this strategy of establishing the military control of the planet. I'm convinced that even the governments of most of the peripheries, including Russia, including China, including India, including Brazil, whatever are the differences and whatever they might be socially, not particularly progressive, but even in some cases reactionary, cannot accept and will not accept this establishing of the military control of the planet by the United States and the collective imperialism. Now, coming to the conclusion, what should be our response? We cannot consider the Syrian problem as a specific problem, geopolitical or remnant of the, or reviving the whole so-called Cold War, etc., etc. We have to put it in that frame. In that frame, our response, the response of the people, which are always starting, it's not a proposal, it's just rationalizing what is happening. It's a struggle on three lines. One, for, let's call it social justice. That is another economic and social system which ensure social progress for all, that is not accepting pauperization and growing inequality. Second, a democratization of the society associated with social justice and not dissociated with it, or worse, associated with social regression, as is the case, which makes democracy unlegitimate and lose its credibility. And third, to articulate those demands of social justice and democratization associated with the respect of the sovereignty of the nations and the people, because the challenge, even if the same for all, is operating in societies which have a long history behind them, different histories which are in different positions, capacity of meeting the challenge, and need to meet the challenges in their proper way. So this is what we need, and I'm concluding by saying that this is the way to respond to respond to the strategy, not the conspiracy of Obama and other leaders of the so-called Western power, Western imperialist center of military control of the planet. I'm sure that I don't know what will happen at the G20, whether they will discuss serious problems or not discuss at all. Most probably they will not discuss. There will be discussions in the corridors, and in the corridors it will be more on politics and Syria than on the so-called economic and financial reforms. Thank you.